want to give our customer there a shout out for their launch as well.
Well, speaking of customers, let's talk about ESCAPADE for a second. We have just enough time. We're awaiting that final terminal count coming out at T-4. But ESCAPADE is a pair of these twin satellites, and it's doing something really unique, something that it hasn't done. I had the opportunity actually earlier to talk to Dr. Joe.
Welcome to our live stream. We're here just in time, just under 5 minutes until the proposed launch of New Glenn 2. This is Blue Origin's super heavy rocket that is sending its first real payload into space, and it's sending NASA's twin satellite mission ESCAPADE to Mars. So that is very exciting stuff. We are waiting to make sure that the countdown goes well, and if we're lucky, New Glenn will take off to the skies and we'll see those amazing blue plumes out of the engines from the methane. And yeah, it's been a crazy adventure this week for them. They got the rocket on the pad, they were ready to go, and then that solar flare that happened was causing too much space weather, and NASA said, we don't want to risk the satellites before they go to Mars. So they've waited an extra day. Here we are the next day, and we're just waiting to hear about countdown. So if you're in the chat, if you're hanging out with us, please let us know. I've got the chat open here. Excited for this. And if you have any questions, as always, we are totally here to help answer them. I'm rocking my cheap knockoff astronaut outfit, which I love. Looks like something an AI would have developed if you asked them to make a spacesuit for an astronaut. But I love it. It's fun to jump into this thing and get ready for a launch like this. So happy to be here. Let's listen in as we get countdown for launch. Almost 3 minutes to go. But if it's your first time, welcome to Today in Space, the All Things Space Science podcast.
New Glenn is ready to launch, and we've
Views from Florida here.
into that terminal count. Now, from here on out, you'll be hearing from our flight ops, Patrick Moore.
And from here, the vehicle is also running fully autonomously on software. So our engineers are hands off. They've got their eyes on their screens, but the rocket is in control of itself at the moment.
Yeah, right now they're continuing.
So folks, this is a launch hangout. So how it works, we sit here, we watch a launch, we put on the broadcast in the background. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have or just to chat. I mean, it's literally a hangout, right? I would happily do this just by myself, but I figured a little while ago, it makes a lot of sense just to go live and hang out for the launch. So that's what we're doing. We're excited if you're here. We're live on LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Let's listen to the crowd. I love an excited crowd.
We can start in a stagger start. So we've got 3 of the engines that'll start,
I love seeing the Blue Origin team on camera, showing their excitement. That I can't tell you how important that is to space travel, to space progress. If we don't see the people that are behind this, first of all, we don't really know like what that entails, right? Like we don't know all the stuff. Maybe we just think it's the astronauts, right? No, there's a village of people behind the scenes making this happen. I love that Blue Origin is leaning more into showing that. I think they should have done it a long time ago, but that's just me. I'm just happy they're doing it now. And this rocket is incredible. So if they're successful, they're able to launch 2 satellites to Mars for NASA, which would be huge, feather in their cap. And this is the rocket that will take their Blue Moon lander to the surface of the moon. So a lot hinges on this. You know, it's a reusable rocket. They're going to try and land the first stage here, which will be amazing if they pull it off. They will have surpassed SpaceX if they're able to complete that, right? It took a while before SpaceX successfully landed the first Falcon 9, and then obviously all the other ones afterwards. I mean, they've launched so many missions at this point, it's become routine. And we need another rocket company to figure out reusability, especially in the US. It's a good thing for the American space program. So I wish them all the luck. If they're able to pull that off on their first try, then they really understand what they're doing. All right, it looks like we're close to launch. We got 20 seconds. The rocket is called Never. Tell me the odds. My favorite Han Solo quote. Let's pull up the audio here. All right, they're at a hold. Of course they are.
All right, as we've seen here, our team has decided to go into a hold at T-minus 20 seconds.
Well, it doesn't mean it's over. Got a whole hour here for the launch window, so.
Let's wait to learn just a little bit more here.
It's a good-looking rocket.
Auto safing complete.
Thank you again, everybody. If you're just joining us, we are awaiting here NG2, the second mission of New Glenn. We're at T-minus 20 seconds. Our team has decided to enter a hold here. We've said it on other webcasts before. We spend years designing this rocket, months building it, months designing the missions. If we need a couple of minutes to make sure that the rocket is ready, that our team is ready, that everything on the range is ready.
That's right.
Then we will take that time.
Oh, yeah. You have a whole launch window to deal with it. And as long as your fuel doesn't get too warm and you need to freeze it, cryogenically cool it again, I mean, you've got time. There's no reason to rush a rocket launch. And the worst thing you could do for a new rocket, or any space company, is to prematurely launch and blow up your rocket. Not only is that bad for the rocket, NASA would lose 2 payloads going to Mars. So as easy as it is to think, why did they just scrub this again? It's way better just to take a second, figure things out. You can always go back to 2 minutes before launch, depending on their launch progress. There's a lot of ways to figure this out. So patience is key here. We may just get a launch. Whose first rocket launch stream is this? I'd love to know that if you're brand new to this. And if it isn't, but this is your first Blue Origin stream, let me know. I'd love to know where you are in your space fandom. Is it just casual, or have you been following for a while? I'd love to hear from you.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is NG2. We are at T-minus 20 seconds. We are currently in a hold because we had a terminal count abort. Our team, like I said, is currently investigating. So while everything is getting sorted out, we're going to toss it back over to NG2 on the pad and give you more information as it becomes available to us.
I think that noise is it's just background noise. Oh, they got their music starting. Oh, pull that down. Deborah! How are you, Deborah? Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to this. I've been following this and NASA too. Very nice. Now, Deborah, did you work at NASA / currently work at NASA, or just a massive fan? I was trying to follow up with you about your telescope questions. Which, congratulations on the new scope. Good. I'm glad you're doing well. Doing great. That's good. That's great to hear. I am well. Just a huge NASA nerd. Okay. Well, awesome. That's very cool. Well, then you got a double whammy here. You've got Blue Origin and you've got NASA stuff going on. So that's awesome. How is the new telescope? I would love for there to be more clear skies. I was looking back, I stream through Restream here, and I got a report about last month, and I only went live with the telescope. Well, I only went live twice in October. It was like the 12th and the 13th of October. And I'm pretty sure that was for Starship. So I don't think I was able to stream the telescope a single day in October. I think it's literally been waiting since September, and now we're in November. And maybe, no, it's not going to be a clear night tonight, but who knows? Who knows? My telescope will be ready when it is. I'm just bummed I've missed all the Comet action. We've got Comet Lemon. There's obviously 3i Atlas, which is now on the other side. But one day we will get a chance to get the telescope back out there. I said, yeah, I love fall clear night skies. Fall clear night skies in wherever you are, New England over here, they're pretty amazing, especially with the leaves and it's the fall is nice. I do like a crisp winter night with the telescope. Luckily, since mine's a smart telescope, it can keep itself heated, and as long as I've got it plugged in, it can run all night without the battery getting sapped for power. So that is cool. Definitely looking forward to that. In the meantime, what else has been up with me? We haven't put out an episode yet. This live stream will probably go up as part of that episode for the first one of November, but it's definitely been busy with the 3D printing side of things. So I've been building up AG 3D printing into AG 3D labs because we're doing more than just 3D printing now. We're also offering 3D printing services through stand.store/AG3D labs. A bunch of different ways, like maybe you want to pick your first 3D printer. We have a choose your first 3D printer option. We have a part success option, right? Where it's like, I'm stuck on a 3D printed part. It's failing. I don't know why. Perfect option for that. And then we also have a discovery session for an hour where you can ask me anything about 3D printing or get really, really into the weeds on a problem that you're having. And if you want that video face-to-face call, we've got that all up there. So that's all up at stand.store/AG3D labs. So go check that out if you're interested. It also has all of our Today's Space stuff. And we also did a season of 3D printing podcast I did with my friend Matt Guy, who's my co-host, and we're working on season 2. So there's been a ton behind the scenes on top of us building our own AI here for 3D printing. So I have been busy. So I hope anyone who's a part of the Today in Space fam is following me everywhere, so that way we could keep in touch while I'm building the business. Today in Space is not going to take a backseat for a long time, but we're going to do more live streams to counteract that. So do appreciate everyone who does listen in every time we got an episode. We're going to build up a more robust schedule so we can be there every week, but that hasn't been a new problem for Today in Space. Looking at the chat here, Deborah says, your telescopes. You've got a vintage one from the 90s handed down, but looking to buy a Celestron. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, Celestron is a solid, telescope. Definitely nothing wrong there. Even with a vintage one from the 90s, right? If you can focus, if you have enough lenses, a vintage telescope is great. And there's other mounting hardware and stuff that you can add. It's the rigs, the custom rigs that are really, really cool. But I have 14 3D printers that I tinker with all the time. I don't need something else that's new to tinker with. So the smart telescope was an easy way to be like, I just want to be able to look at the sky, and it does a tremendous job. And I can even set it up to watch all night. And we found out recently we can actually live stream it. So that's been really cool. Deb says, I would love it if a 3D printer could make me a coffee mug. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. The food contact stuff would be difficult, but you could definitely make the outside of a coffee mug. That would be sick. Almost like a cover. That would be dope. So folks, we're waiting here to find out more. They had So I've got the audio in my headset. You may not be hearing it here, but there's been nothing said yet. They were still at T minus 20 hold. Now, there could be a lot of different things that are happening. Ooh, I love that shot of the inner stage where the first stage meets the second stage. I love that. Looks like stainless steel. It's probably aluminum, but I love that hardware look on the rocket. There's a lot of different things. My ADHD spin off there for a second. Focus. There could be a lot of reasons for a rocket to be on hold. The crazy thing, especially in Florida, but anywhere you launch a rocket, you could design and have a theoretical thing for whatever you want for a rocket. But as soon as you add fuel, as soon as things start to expand, like it's going to act differently. Looks like they're coming back. I'm going to pull back.
ESCAPADE and how it's going to help scientists learn more about the atmosphere on Mars.
Yeah, let's listen to
our friends
ESCAPADE.
over at NASA put together this great explainer on the importance of ESCAPADE. Let's take a look.
Mars, once a warm, watery world with a thick atmosphere. Now, a cold, arid landscape with its atmosphere thinned out. What caused this transformation? And how could this environment affect future Mars explorers? NASA's new ESCAPADE mission aims to find out. The Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorers mission will help us understand Mars's climate history using 2 spacecraft in orbit for the first time.
ESCAPADE gives us what you might call a stereo perspective, 2 different vantage points simultaneously. This will allow us to really make measurements we've never made before.
The mission is studying the planet's real-time response to the solar wind, a relentless flow of particles from the sun that have stripped away the Martian atmosphere. ESCAPADE's twin spacecraft fly in 2 different formations to see how Mars responds to the solar wind in both time and space. The first formation allows ESCAPADE to observe rapid changes in the Martian atmosphere caused by sudden variations in the solar wind.
When we have 2 spacecraft crossing those regions in quick succession, we can monitor how those regions vary on timescales as short as 2 minutes up to 30 minutes.
In the second formation, ESCAPADE will study both the solar wind and the upper atmosphere of Mars simultaneously for the very first time.
We'll have 1 spacecraft in the solar wind so we can measure what's coming in, and then 1 spacecraft closer to Mars. This will help us understand the cause and effect of what's happening when space weather comes to Mars.
ESCAPADE will also help us prepare to send human explorers to the Red Planet. For example, ESCAPADE will give scientists more details about Mars's upper atmosphere that future astronauts will use to send radio and navigation signals around the planet. ESCAPADE's work could also help keep future Mars explorers safe.
The atmospheres can provide a shield that protect humans and other assets on the surface from things like solar radiation or intergalactic radiation. So it's important for us to understand how the atmosphere is changing.
NASA's heliophysics fleet is looking at the sun's influence, and with ESCAPADE, we'll now have multi-point measurements at Mars, which will help us have a more comprehensive picture of what's happening throughout the solar system.
Just fascinating what ESCAPADE, what these 2 satellites are going to figure out.
See if we have any
ironically,
updates
wouldn't it
here.
have been so cool to have these 2 satellites up there right now? Earlier this week, obviously, we had a couple of solar, some solar flares.
That's right.
That came off of the sun, what we call coronal mass ejections, and it has just, we had to play it extra safe for our customers because it can, essentially, if you don't do it right, it can fry the electronics on the satellites, right? So if we had launched, and we were prepared to launch, if we had launched but then put the satellites up there and then it can't deploy its solar arrays, the computers don't turn on, you can't just go up there and pick up the satellite and repair them. Like, that's why this is those 2 beautiful satellites called Blue and Gold after the UC Berkeley colors. So that is why we decided to take a little bit of time. But as I said, can you imagine what these...
Yeah, so great points. I mean, the solar flare caused a space weather violation for the launch. And to her point, space plasma from the sun is a bunch of energy and matter that's adding more to, like, all of that energy will go into the spacecraft, and then all those electronics will get fried if they're not protected, which, you can protect all you want, but there's just no reason to launch when there's been a solar flare and there's coronal mass ejections hitting Earth. But really cool that these two spacecraft are going to be investigating both Mars's atmosphere and how, like, solar weather happens out there. That is such a cool thing to have at Mars. I mean, of the places that we've been other than Earth, even at the moon, we know so little about it, and especially in comparison with, like, how humans can survive there. And Mars, we know even less. We've got some ideas of where there's ice water, right? The South Pole, actually on both the moon and Mars, are places where you would end up sending humans because you would have water, but then you could also make fuel, technically. And so we're playing catch up in a lot of ways to, we have this goal of sending humans to Mars, this goal of sending humans back to the moon, but there's so much groundwork. And the first people that are going to be going are going to be just as, have just as little resources as the first astronauts that went to the moon. And at Mars, those people will be pioneers. Those people will be like the ones in the US that went west for the first time, right? It's a true adventure. And so missions like this are super important. And it'll be interesting to see what they learn of the atmosphere that still exists on Mars, right? How much of it is there? How consistent is it? How does it change over the seasons? And then this space weather aspect. We know clearly, based on what happened with the auroras here and some of the radio blackouts, what solar weather can do to Earth where there's humans. So not to mention auroras and stuff like that, but having those satellites out there at Mars, that's going to be fascinating. So it sounds like we're reset at 30 minutes. So we've got some time here before this takes off. I missed what exactly they must have done, but usually when they push it this far back, there's either some kind of fuel recycling that needs to happen, like some of the fuel burned off or warmed up too much, so now it's not holding as much, because the cryogenic fuel is good because you can put more mass, can get denser fuel in a smaller space. But if you wait too long, if you hold too long, you've got to top it off. So purge and top it off. So it sounds like that's what they're doing. But we've got some time, folks. Got some people over on Facebook. I know Deborah was over there earlier. Looks like we had some people on Twitch. What's going on? And then we're streaming on X, YouTube, and LinkedIn as I kick things over. So yeah, I've got the broadcast in my ear, so that way if anything comes up, I will let you know. But in the meantime, we're here. So if you guys have anything that you'd like to bring up, please feel free to reach out. Hit us up in the chat. And going back before that update, we were talking with Deborah about her new telescope, or her telescope that she got that's from the 90s. And it's passed down, which is awesome. She's saying here that she's learning the basics from that telescope, which is great. And then when she's ready, she'll shift on up, which I love. I have a smart telescope. It's a Vespera 1 is the name of the telescope. It's from a company called Vaonis. We actually interviewed the CEO, Cyril Dupuis, years ago, right before Vespera launched. And because of that great interview, and because I learned more about what they are doing as a company, what they're focusing on, I've been really, really impressed. And this isn't a commercial, but because I'm not getting paid, but I'm just a customer. I use that thing all the time. I've had it for a few years now. Even with the older hardware, right? This was a I got my Vespera 1 from the pre-release, so I even got like an entry price of like early bird special, so I saved a little bit of money on that hardware. But the thing that I love that they do is that their software updates come out pretty regularly. It's not too much where you're like, okay, what did you guys break the last time you sent something out? But every time they release more stuff, the same hardware becomes more and more capable. New tools get added, like the panoramic view, right? The mosaic view. So basically, typical telescope, the view of your telescope is what you're capturing, and then you're getting more and more images to stack, which means you're getting more and more light, so the detail in that image grows as you take more and more images. But with things like satellites from companies like Starlink, or others like Project Kuiper is Amazon/Blue Origin's company, the mosaic thing helps with that. So we got action again. Let's jump in.
It's 27 minutes and about 15 seconds to go. We are recycling and resetting the clock with a new T0 of 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, while we have a little bit of time and you see New Glenn out on the pad in all of the New Glenn glory that rocket is, we have to talk about what is sitting in GS2, and that is ESCAPADE. Now, I actually had the opportunity and the honor to catch up with Dr. Joe Westlake to talk about solar weather effects and how that can affect satellites and what we can expect from the deployment of ESCAPADE. Dr. Joe Westlake, heliophysicist at NASA. We are so honored to have you here with us in the studio. First off, let's talk about heliophysics.
Yeah, so really excited to be here, really excited to see the ESCAPADE launch go up, really jazzed. And heliophysics, right? So heliophysics is an interesting word. It's fascinating because, one, it doesn't exist in the dictionary yet, which is really an interesting thing. We hit our slang era in heliophysics. Merriam-Webster actually just picked it up. But heliophysics is like the science of the sun and everything that it touches. So when we think about ESCAPADE, folks would say, well, what does heliophysics have to do with some Mars mission? Why do we care about what the sun does to Mars? Well, ESCAPADE is a space weather mission. We're going out to ensure and protect the space weather effects on Mars, on our astronauts, on our spacecraft that are there at Mars. And as we saw over the last couple of days, space weather is kind of a big deal,
It certainly is. Can you kind of talk about how space weather affected our launch?
Yeah, so hopefully folks over the last couple of days got to see some really pretty light.
The Aurora Borealis, as they call it.
Just incredible, right?
Stunning.
We saw across the U.S., even down here at the Florida at the Space Coast.
Space Coast,
right?
yeah.
We saw red aurora sat over top of our rocket. And that's really cool. That's a pretty light show. But what that really means is that the magnetosphere is kind of angry, right? It's got a lot of energetic particles that have come in from the sun, right? A coronal mass ejection came in, multiple coronal mass ejections came in from the sun, and they pushed into our magnetosphere, creating space radiation that can cause issues for our spacecraft, which, of course, in the early days of any mission, they're a little bit fragile, right? It's sort of early days. We want to get the solar arrays deployed. We want to get the mission up and ready to go and safely out to Mars. And those early activities are really critical for us.
Certainly. So for people who don't know, tell me a little bit more about the heliophysics tied in to ESCAPADE.
Yeah, so when we go out to Mars, right, we're looking at how space weather, how the solar wind, how these coronal mass ejections and flares impact the Martian atmosphere, how they impact Mars as a system, how they impact and change how, atmospheric escape happens at Mars.
Because Mars doesn't have the same atmosphere that we do here on Earth, right?
Absolutely. And that's always been a big question, right? When I look at the difference between our beautiful planet here on Earth and the water and the oceans and other things, why is Mars so different, right? There's a great question that relates to how Mars's atmosphere has escaped over the years, over the decades, over the millennia. And ESCAPADE's actually going to deliver to us a better understanding of whether the atmospheric escape changes in time or changes in space, right? And so getting that feeling and getting that understanding will let us figure out how Mars has changed over its history and be able to conserve and understand how that applies to us here at Earth.
And for the first time, we have a lot of firsts, actually. So we have 2 satellites that are deploying that are going to give us information. And on top of that, this is the first time we are deploying not during the critical Mars window. We're actually going to go into kind of this like lollygagging phase just for a little bit until we hit that window. Can you kind of explain that?
So isn't that amazing? Like usually when you think about the planets aligning, right? I mean, the greatest planet alignment was when we sent the Voyagers out in the 70s, right? All the planets have aligned. We've gone and done the grand voyage, right? But as you go to Mars, every 2 years a window opens up where you can make the most efficient trip to Mars. And all that means is that Earth and Mars are in the right spot of the trajectory or the right spot of their travel every year to where you can actually get from one to the other. So once every 2 years, we line up and we make this, you know, it's like, how many Mars missions can we get off the ground in that one window?
In that little window, yeah.
But one of the great things, one of the innovations that we're doing here with ESCAPADE today is we're actually going to send it outside of that window. We're going to send it outside of that window because we can put it into a very benign, safe parking orbit and let it sort of hang out, loiter, hang out near us here at Earth. So we can make some measurements about the space weather here around Earth, and we can prep for those spacecraft to then, with their own propulsion, get themselves out to Mars when that window opens. We always talk about how, you know, spacecraft are, frankly, the safest out in space, right? There aren't earthquakes or hurricanes or other things to worry about when they're out in space. And plus, we always love to have amazing data that come down from our spacecraft, almost no matter where they are.
Certainly. And what's interesting is we're sitting here in 2025, but this mission is really going to take, I mean, it's 5 years when you also count all the way to when we're going to get the data that starts to come back, right? So 2025, around 2027 is when ESCAPADE will actually be at Mars, and then it starts kind of being reoriented. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, we have a couple of different orbit scenarios with ESCAPADE because we have different questions, right? So one of the questions is, I want to be able to follow, have a leading following orientation of the 2 spacecraft, and I want to see how things are changing in time by doing that. But then we're also going to spread them out in longitude, so like east-west. And we're going to try and fly them somewhat side by side. But then we're going to ask questions that are like, okay, what's the inside the Martian atmosphere versus the outside? And there's a lot of dynamics and other things that we can do with these, you know, really 2 very capable spacecraft that we're sending out to Mars.
And another cool thing about your job is you get to work with Dr. Nikki Fox. I was able to grab her into our webcast the other day.
Yes.
But today's a special day for her, right?
Yeah, it's a really special day. So, you know, when we talk about having rockets and lighting candles and other things, you know, this is her birthday. So we get to light a candle today. I think it's going to be really amazing to be able to,
quite the birthday candle.
Obviously, we're not going to blow it out until we get ESCAPADE up and moving, but quite the candle, and it's amazing.
2 years is a long time
Let's
to
send
wait
it off
for
to
a present.
Dr. Nikki
Well
Fox.
said.
Happy birthday, Dr. Fox, and
Happy birthday,
go
Dr.
NG2.
Fox.
Yeah, excellent. Go New Glenn, go ESCAPADE, and we're just so jazzed to be here.
And we're so grateful to have you as a customer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, there's something about the production
Who knew?
that Blue Origin is doing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a different style of things, but there is a media aspect of it, of making things look good, keep the smile going. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I cringe a little bit. Oh boy. All right, let's go back to this.
On top of the world, that's certainly what it feels like on this momentous occasion. And, you know, I changed up the view a little bit. Behind me, you see Lunar Plant 1. That's our newest building at Rocket Park. Now, Rocket Park sits on 250 acres of what used to be an orange grove. That was pre-2016. Since 2016, we've added 2.5 million square feet of production space. And our newest building, it's building the lunar landers that are going to help NASA and help Blue Origin return to the moon, this time to stay.
And Eddie, I think we talked about this a little bit on our last webcast. That building behind you is massive. It's hard to tell because you're elevated yourself, but maybe you can talk a little bit to the scale of that building, as well as its location relative to other facilities here at Rocket Park.
That's right, Ariane, if you're ever driving on Space Commerce Way, you'll see it. You'll see just how massive it is, right? If I'm standing on top of the world and that building's even taller, it's tall enough to house the 16-meter tall lunar lander, which is twice as big as the Mark 1 101 Pathfinder that we're going to launch to the moon later this year. When that lunar lander lands on the moon, it will be the largest lunar lander to have ever landed, and we're just going to get bigger from there. So we're very excited about Mark 1 later this year or early next year, and then Mark 2 to return humans to the moon, this time to stay. And you mentioned the co-location.
It's interesting. Yeah, if they beat SpaceX, they will have that record. But if they don't land before SpaceX lands Starship, which according to that timeline they should, SpaceX would win that hands down, because I'm pretty sure that Starship is taller than their lander, but I could be wrong. I just can't see a lander taller than Starship fitting in that fairing that they have for New Glenn. So again, could be wrong. But it is a race, even within the US, to get to the moon.
Toss it over to New Glenn on the pad as we await the launch of NG2. And in about 30 seconds here, we're going to hear another go poll. So let's go ahead and listen in.
That's where it comes down. Will they launch today? I mean, they still have 30-something minutes left in the launch window, so they've got a good chance at it. But let's touch on a few things. Folks, welcome to Today in Space. We are watching the New Glenn 2 launch of NASA's ESCAPADE going to Mars. We are just waiting to hear an update on the go, no-go call. They're at a hold now at 17 minutes and 4 seconds, so I will have my finger on the unmute button for that. But it all depends on what's going on with the rocket, right? There could be a valve that's not reacting properly. There could be a leak on the venting. Fuel could be warming up too fast. I don't think it's that hot in Florida today, but lots of different things that could be at play here. Hopefully they will get a resolution and won't need to reset again, because in this launch window, I don't know how many more tries they'll get today. But a rocket in one piece is way better than a rocket in an infinite amount of pieces after it blows up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, the more missions that we send out to Mars, the better. But it requires so much more planning than just, hey, we want to go back to the moon. Like, a Mars mission is a 2-year commitment, right? This mission is going to take, it will not be at Mars until 2027. That's a level of commitment to a space program that is hard to do across multiple presidential cabinets, right? Whether it's a 4-year cabinet or 8 years. We've experienced that problem for a while in the space program. The privatization of space flight capabilities, right? The abilities of rockets lifting things into space has been huge for NASA, because it allows them to spend money on the mission and the flight, but they don't have to spend the money developing a rocket to do that. And that saves them a lot of money. And these reusable rockets, which New Glenn is supposed to be, all of Blue Origin's rockets are intended to be reusable. If they're able to do that, and this heavy lift reusable rocket can be used more often and send bigger things like a lunar lander to the moon, or have enough energy to send things to Mars, that's good for NASA, because then NASA doesn't have to cut as many programs and they could just do more with what they have, right? It's all good stuff. No word yet on what's happening with this hold, but we're here hanging out. So if you're here, let us know in the comments. I see people over on LinkedIn, on Twitch, on YouTube, Facebook, and I'm going to assume on X here, but it doesn't give me any information. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. I'd also love to know if this is your first Blue Origin launch, or if you're just brand new to space in general. If you are, welcome. Glad you're here. And this is the All Things Space Science Podcast, Today in Space. I'm your host, Alex Girofanos. We've been doing this for a decade now, podcasting about all things space. Thank you for joining us, Deborah, over on Facebook. It's always good to have you here. Don't know what's going on with this hold. Yeah, going back to that fairing thing I was talking about earlier. If you look at so that fairing, right, is at the top of the second stage. That is the limit for sending things into space. Number one, you've got to have enough power on the rocket to lift the mass to go to orbit. Yes. Yes, Gloria, over on YouTube, this is Jeff Bezos' ship. Blue Origin is Jeff Bezos' space company. And this is their heavy lift rocket, New Glenn. And it's the second launch ever. It's the first time they'd be putting a payload into space. That payload is ESCAPADE, NASA's twin satellite mission to go to Mars. And another thing they're going to try and do with New Glenn, if they launch today, is that first stage rocket, not everything that we're seeing in this image, but everything else below it. That first stage is going to attempt to land on a barge in the ocean, just like SpaceX has done many times before. What would be really special is on their second attempt, if they're actually able to do it. That would be unheard of.
No poll for terminal count. Right now, we're in a hold and we're getting more information. But do stay with us. Keep your eyes on that screen because New Glenn is out on the pad and looking absolutely fantastic.
It does look pretty good. But no new information there. But yeah, so going back to why this would be a huge success for New Glenn, if on their second true flight of this brand new heavy lift rocket, which uses a lot of the architecture from New Shepard, which you've seen them go to the edge, the Kármán line, and send people to the edge of space. We've seen, celebrities. We've seen people with the wealth and means to purchase a ticket just straight up. And we've also just seen people that are doing experiments, right? Having that moment in zero-G to perform an experiment in that condition. A lot of things in medicine and a lot of stuff learning how humans react to zero-G. The International Space Station has done a ton of that. But getting your science to be done on the International Space Station is a very long list. And even if you get on that list, it can take a long time before your research ever gets there. And even at the rough price of $500,000 to send up on that New Shepard mission to the edge of space and back, that $500,000, if you need results quickly, is still within the means of doing a test, which I think is valuable. And with every one of those launches, they test the BE-4 engine, which is a variant of the engines that we have here on board New Glenn. And so this becomes, every launch that they do becomes another data point on how do we launch a rocket. And they have landed, I think, at least if it didn't have an issue on the way back, every time they've attempted a landing with New Shepard, they've succeeded. So it's not like they've never landed a rocket before. They just never landed a rocket of this size going that high in orbit with that much speed that they have to slow down before it attempts a landing. And then there's the logistics of the ship lining up with the rocket to stick the landing. Lots of things going on. This will be, if they get to orbit, this will be the first time that they will have tried that. And if they nail that, I mean, that is a huge vote of confidence in how well they understand their own technology and how good the information in the simulations are that they're running for real life scenarios. So I'm bullish on Blue Origin. They've had plenty of time to develop. They've been working on a lot of different things. I know a few very brilliant people that are working over there. They've got the talent. They've got the longevity of flight history, granted on a smaller rocket. But if they do this, that will be insane.
Is NG2. We're at L minus 18 minutes and about 40 seconds. Now, coming up at the 17-minute mark, we will have that poll for terminal count. But Ariane, right now, I want to talk about how incredible this rocket is, how unique this rocket is. Can you kind of walk through for our viewers what makes this vehicle so unique?
Sure. So it's a two-stage vehicle. If you were able to tune in on Sunday, you saw a little bit of this explanation. But basically, when you talk about a two-stage vehicle, all that means for those of you that are not rocket nerds like us is that we're just stacking a rocket on top of a rocket. GS1, Glenn Stage 1, is the one on the bottom. It pushes Glenn Stage 2, the rocket on the top. And then on top of Glenn Stage 2, GS2, you see that shroud.
And the reason you need multi-stages to go to orbit is because you need to lose a lot of that weight as you're going up there to keep accelerating into orbit. Otherwise, you'd run out of fuel. So a multi-stage rocket, when the first stage comes off, you can now have all that speed. You can still have all that thrust, but now you're lighter. So every thrust is bringing you more and more speed and acceleration. And so that's how you get to space, is you have to launch whatever weight you need to get up there, and then you need to lose a bunch of weight before that other object, the second stage and the payload, can make it to orbit. So that's rocket science in a 2-second to 1 minute explanation. But multi-stage rockets are the reason we can escape Earth's gravity.
I know, and at L minus 17 minutes, let's listen in for that go poll for terminal count.
We're further along than the last attempt, so that's good. See how the go no go poll goes. T-minus 16 minutes and 20 seconds. New Glenn 2. So, if you didn't know, New Shepard is named after Alan Shepard, the first astronaut to do a spacewalk, right? To go out in space. And then John Glenn, New Glenn, very, very esteemed astronaut, who is the oldest. Well, is he still the oldest person to go to space? But someone with a long, long career in space, historic person in space. It's one of the things I really love about Blue Origin.
All right, guys, we have New Glenn on the pad, and the reason I have my computer in front of me is so I can tell you these great things. So we are go for terminal count at L minus 15 minutes and 30 seconds. You are watching NG2, New Glenn on the pad, the booster so appropriately named Never Tell Me the Odds. Ariane, and a great day to fly.
A beautiful day to fly. Looks a lot better than it did on Sunday. We were just constantly fighting the Florida weather down here. It would be sunny, and then it would be rainstorm, lightning, and then it would be sunny again. It was a lot going on. But today is a beautiful, beautiful day to fly. So as you mentioned, we're now at L minus 15 minutes to go from New Glenn's second launch. And Tabitha, you recently had the chance to chat with our CEO, Dave Limp, about NG2, today's mission, and what this mission means for science and for our company.
Yeah, you can see Kent right there on your screen. Hey, guys, giving you lots of love right here from the desk. Also thinking about our guys in Huntsville, Alabama, Van Horn, Texas, and, of course, right here in Rocket Park. Now, when I got to talk to Dave, not only did he share his message to the more than 10,000 employees here at Blue Origin, some of which you see on your screen, but also how important NG2 is to focus on for our customers. This is a really big moment for Blue Origin. Can you tell me how NG2 compares to NG1?
Yeah, I think NG1 was obviously our first mission. There was lots to learn, and we did learn a lot, and unbelievably successful in that we made our goal, which was to get to orbit. This time we're going to be a little bit more ambitious. We want to not only get to orbit, but we have our first paying customer this time with ESCAPADE and get them off to Mars. That's the first part of our goal, and then the second part of the goal is to land the booster out on Jacqueline. And you know, if we don't, we have more over here in the factory that we're building, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Never Tell Me the Odds is pretty fitting for this booster. You know, we are taking our second attempt at landing it for the first time. How are you going to feel if we land it?
Well, I certainly will not channel my inner C-3PO. I will be very ecstatic. You know, I'll be on pins and needles up to that point. But it would be a huge achievement for the team and for Blue. I think that we have a good chance, but if we don't, like I said, we can build more. But I will be over the moon if it happens.
Now, New Glenn is obviously just one of the many systems we have here, right? We have New Shepard, we have Lunar, we have in-space systems. How are all of those organizations really working together to further our ultimate goals?
Yeah, I think each component of what we do has a piece of trying to get millions of people to work and live in space, and you know they all have their individual. But as it relates to this particular mission, a huge amount of people have put work into it. Obviously, our engines team in building both the engines for the booster, the BE-4s, and the BE-3Us for the upper stage. We also have a huge amount of work by the obviously New Glenn team building this vehicle, but also New Shepard has been a pathfinder. So all our avionics fly on New Shepard first so that we can get a sense of what's going on there and get a sense what it's like to have flight-ready hardware. And so it takes a whole team, and it's a very big cross-functional effort across Blue.
You know, we have more than 10,000 employees here that are very excited about this moment. I'm one of them. What is your message to those who are going to be watching our webcast and be watching NG2 take to the skies?
Well, I think everybody will be a little bit on pins and needles, I'm sure. But I would say that this is a culmination of a lot of work from a lot of teams. It's not the end point of our journey. Obviously, we have a lot more rockets to make and a lot more customers to make happy as we move forward. But to the extent we're successful here, I hope everybody at Team Blue takes a pause, smiles a bit, celebrates, because it'll be a great achievement for us. And we'll take that deep breath, we'll sort of embrace the moment and then move on, because we have a lot of customers waiting for us to succeed. And there's nothing that makes you happier in business and in your life when you see the smile on customers' faces.
Did you ever think that you would be doing something like this in your career when you're watching your rockets launch? No?
No, not in a million years. I was very happy making Fire TVs and Echoes, but it is a boyhood dream, and so to be able to have it, I kind of pinch myself every day and just amazed that I get to wake up and help this lead this amazing team of people build incredible technology like New Glenn.
I mean, and a reference to that, one of the first things they ask you when you come onto Blue Origin is, what is your first memory of space? What is your first memory of space?
Yeah, I have a lot of pictures. It turned out my 3rd, 4th, and 5th birthday, I have these old Polaroids of the cake, and they all have rockets on it. I was enamored with rockets as a kid, and never took the path where I thought I'd be running a rocket or a rocket company. But it turns out that it was very early in my life that I had a lot.
Yeah, it helps when you work for a guy who has a rocket business. That's that's definitely helpful. Yeah, interesting. Earliest memories of space, I watched Star Trek Next Generation with my dad, and my brother. That was an easy entry into space travel. I'm a child of the 90s, so there was also a lot of just space stuff, Star Wars too. But I think Apollo 13, the movie, that scene where they dump the box of parts because they've got to figure out the CO2 filtration system. Wanted to be a person that was going to do that, to work in a team that solves the problem that needs to be solved. That was, without a doubt, what set me on my path to become an aerospace engineer, and then eventually talking about space here online with Today in Space. So, yeah. Same question to you guys, though. What's your earliest memory of space? Because clearly, if you're here, you're a fan of space. I would love to know when you got into it. Was it a show? Was it... I know a lot of people who had someone that worked at NASA or on the Apollo program. I think that's really cool. Let's learn more about the drone ship here.
Where New Glenn will come down, land, and we secure it and bring it back in.
She's 380 foot long, 150 foot wide, and she's a self-propelled vessel.
I like that they just have
We are the recovery side of the operation.
Small
this is where
buildings on
GS1 is
there.
going to land, and actually that feather is a center point.
We have to leave 4 days before launch. We check all our equipment, and we ensure that everything is working, everything is fully functional. We transit for 300 to 400 miles, depending on how far the landing location is. And once we get there, dynamic positioning allows the thrusters on board here will hold this in position within a range of about 10 feet.
Recovery teams are pretty badass.
Changes of Jacqueline's position. They're going to feed us new coordinates, right? So we might move 500 yards this direction, a little that way, but we're generally in the area. And right up to like 45 minutes or an hour before, that's our final position.
Yeah.
When the booster lands, the ROV will come out. Once it's mated with the booster effectively, we'll start pumping high-pressure nitrogen into the booster, which will allow the detanking process to continue to make the booster inert and safe for us to operate around.
These are the transit stands. These are what we actually use to secure GS1 to the deck. Each one of these units is individually controlled. We'll have 6 different operators operating them out under the vehicle, and then we're able to lock out the stands, which basically rigidizes GS1 to the LPV deck and allows us to bring it home.
Let's go. Blue Origin, we need more of this. I love that they're doing this.
It's pretty important because we operate in such an isolated environment. We're hundreds of miles offshore. We're relying on satellite communication.
The one thing about working on the ocean and in the elements, we fight it. It never wants to work with you. The best you can do is just get along with it. I hope people understand how important reusability is to this program. Us being out here and allowing us to retrieve these vehicles and bring back and reuse them, we reduce the cost, we reduce pollution.
My favorite part of being Team Blue is how everybody works together as a very cohesive group. This is really, really rewarding just to kind of see everyone marching together towards one successful landing operation.
It is wild, though, that their recovery ship, like, you've got people on board, seemingly, when this is landing. Now, we don't usually get to see it on the autonomous drone ship with SpaceX, but the fact that it's autonomous would usually imply that there isn't anyone on board. Now, I would assume there's some kind of ship that would be taking crew off of this pad so that when the rocket comes in, they're not exposed to the pressures of the rocket. And then obviously, more importantly, if the rocket explodes, you don't want to be inside those buildings, no matter how much protection you have. The air pressure chains alone would be not good for you. So, crazy stuff, though. I love seeing their version of an ocean landing pad. It's cool.
So to give you a sense, that's hard. So you've got this huge 200-foot tall tower that's coming in. We're going to slow it down with first a reentry burn. Then we're going to do another burn to slow it down, and then we're just with 3 engines. Then shut it down to just 1 engine.
That's right.
And it will. We do have throttling capability on the first stage, and it'll come in for a nice soft landing. Because if you think about it, it was full of fuel on the way up. When it comes down, it's essentially an empty fuel tank. So while it is heavy and very tall here,
there's those engines right there.
There are the 7 BE4 engines, and the center engine is the one that's going to be doing all the hard work as it comes in just in the last seconds there. And so you don't need as much power. We can pull back on the power for a nice soft landing. And when we do, it will be an extraordinary day. But we've talked about it. This is just the beginning.
It really is.
We will bring this rocket back, we'll refurbish it, we'll examine it. We've got all sorts of thoughts on what we're going to need to do to refurbish the vehicle. But our whole game plan, launch, land, repeat, is to be able to flip this rocket around and fly it again very shortly here. I should say with New Shepard, we landed the first time in November of 2015.
And here we are 10 years later.
And here we are, well, 10 years later, yeah, but it only took us about 2 months to flip around the first rocket that had ever gone to space and back. So we've got kind of same time scales that we're thinking here. It's not going to, we want to go fast on this.
And if you're taking a look at your screen, you see New Glenn on the pad, and on the upper right-hand corner, you see L minus 4 minutes and about 6 seconds. That's going to change to a T minus any moment, and that is really when the vehicle itself is starting to run on its own. We're going to start being able to hear our mission ops, Patrick Moore.
AFSS timer enabled.
Terminal count system is active. From here on out, the vehicle is running fully autonomously on software.
Disengaged.
Let's go, New Glenn.
T minus 330. Rapid retract armed.
Okay, we've got the tower
Magic
pulling
charge
back.
initiated.
All right, folks. Almost T minus 3 minutes.
How exciting here. We're ticking down. In 3 minutes, we're going to launch this vehicle to space. We're going to put 2 satellites on their way to Mars.
Yes.
And we're going to try to land that booster for the first time.
Red planet bound.
So exciting. And a big props to our launch control team that has managed to do a recycle on this vehicle. We want to fly today, Tabitha.
Oh, there are the cheers. Yes.
Let's
the energy
go.
is palpable. Our launch director, Megan Lewis, she's in the control room now. I know this is an exciting moment from her.
Let's go, guys.
There we have employees from
Magic
all
charge
across
complete.
the United States. This is Huntsville, Alabama. Big shout out to our
T-minus
teams
230.
there. And of course,
GS1 pre-press
HQ,
start.
Kent Washington. We
Kent
see you.
Washington.
Let's see it.
All right, rocket going through its last
GS2
motions
short
here,
pre-press start.
making sure the tanks are pressurized to their proper
Almost T
flight
minus
levels.
2 minutes.
That's right.
I'm excited too.
A warm day in Florida, but that rocket is super cold
Nice
with
and
its
cool.
chilled-in
T-minus 2 minutes.
propellants.
T minus 2 minutes, people.
T-minus 2 minutes to
AFSS
go.
capacity charged.
LNG on the first stage, liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen on the second stage. New
Let's see
Glenn
that blue flame
looking
from that
beautiful.
methane.
And there you go.
Beachgoers with a great view.
What makes this place so special down here on the Space Coast?
Man, I gotta get to the
A
Space
day on
Coast
the
again.
beach, but you can sit there
T-minus
because our pad
130.
is so far south. A spectacular
Power
view
internal.
for everybody here
Let's go.
in Cocoa
It's
Beach.
rockets
Now we've
primed.
transitioned from ground power to the vehicle's own internal power. I mean, we are getting close. Aria,
Almost
hold
at
my
T minus
hand.
1 minute.
I'm getting really excited. There are those BE4s, 7 of them, ready to take New Glenn.
3.85 million pounds of thrust
T-minus
combined
60 seconds.
Let's go. T minus 1
in just
minute.
60
Range
seconds
green,
here. As
AFSS
mentioned
flight
before,
enabled.
we will light 4 of the engines, then 3 of the engines, just about a second or 2 off for a staggered start. You'll see the big water deluge, and that's when you know that it's game on.
T minus 40.
I love hearing all those sounds.
You hear the power
Gotta
up.
get past
Certainly
T minus
do.
20.
And with that,
You'll see that water any second now.
let's
T-minus
turn it
30
over to
seconds.
launch control. Let's go, New Glenn.
GS1 hydraulics internal.
Never
Come
tell
on.
me
GS1
the
at flight
odds.
level. GS2
Come
at
on,
flight
Blue
level.
Origin, you got this. Let's go, Team Blue. Oh, we're past T minus 20.
Autopilot
T
enabled.
minus 15.
T-minus
T
10.
minus 10.
9. 8.
7. 6. 5.
4.
4. 3. 2. 1.
Lift up. Effective. First motion.
Let's go. Yes.
New Glenn has cleared the tower.
Engines doing good. Let's go, Team Blue. The tortoise has waited long enough in the race. Let's go.
30 seconds into flight. Engine operator.
Let's go. Focus on that. Come on.
40
That's
seconds
a
in.
great shot.
Roll strips now level.
Let's go.
50 seconds in flight. Continue to good engine operating parameters. All set.
A clean burn. We're coming up here on max Q.
Rocket is now working.
1 minute in
This
flight.
is the
Heading
hardest
towards
point
max Q.
on the vehicle when it comes to the
Body rate response
pressures and
continue
the
to look good during
speed.
ascent.
We want to see
Engine
this
operating
rocket
parameters
punch
continue to look
through
good.
that max Q.
Seeing
Let's
good
stand
TDC
by.
control, good on
Let's
mark
go.
control.
Love what I'm seeing out
1
of
minute,
this
15
assembly.
seconds in. Now passing Mach 1, New Glenn is now supersonic.
Let's go.
Supersonic!
And we can hear the
1 minute, 30
roar here.
seconds.
Rocket balls.
Engine operating parameters continue to look good at full thrust.
Rocket engine
Max Q,
still
maximum
working.
dynamic pressure.
Some fire in that area, but it's okay as long as it doesn't affect the engines.
1 minute, 45 seconds in.
We have cosmonauts.
All 7
This
V4
is
engines continue to
real.
look good. Body rate phenomenal. Seeing good control on MR and TDC. Acceleration profile phenomenal.
Got chills, man.
Now passing 2 minutes into flight.
BE4 is unreal.
Speed 4 engines look good.
All right, 1 minute remaining in boost phase. You heard our team say. Then we'll hit Nico. Main engine cutoff. That's going to lead to a sequence of events. We will separate the first stage from the second. And that's when the first stage is going to begin its journey back home. We're going to see if we can land the booster separately.
progress
Of course,
bar on the
we
bottom.
will get the second stage
Very
off
happy
and
that we're
going
continuing
with the
30
NASA
seconds now
progress
SDK
on
satellites on board.
Telling people more on what's happening so they visually know, oh, main engine cutoff's coming up next.
Body rate response
Great to hear that.
phenomenal.
Good data quality.
All 7 engines continue
Looking
to look good.
nominal.
Here we go, main engine cutoff. And then
Next
separation.
up, Miko, which is main engine cutoff.
Here we go.
The cheers are real. You can hear them all the way in here.
And we have Miko.
There we go.
Miko!
And we have good stage set.
This is critical.
Stage separation!
As you're seeing,
And we have
the
ignition.
black up
Stage
there
2.
is the engines of the second
Both
stage,
engines look
the
good.
top of the first stage. Oh, that image was just off.
Body rate stamping out nicely.
Alright, we got separation. That's great. Stage 2 is ignited.
Both B3U engines
They're at
look
the edge
good.
of space,
At
the carbon line,
high
that's
set point.
fantastic.
Body rate responses look good. 3 minutes,
There's
43
the
seconds in
views
flight.
we're looking for.
Look at that view.
Let's go, Team Blue. It's not over yet. Fairings need to jettison. Let's look for that. Yeah.
We have good indication of payload fairing
Very
jettison.
nice jettison.
Both B3U engines continue to look good.
They're-
Body rate
they're
response
flat.
phenomenal. We're seeing good data coming down from both stages.
Great data.
That's
We're 4
great.
minutes into NG2.
That's great. The engines look solid. Yep, that's the first stage. So now we've got
And
to,
you saw
Take pressure
the
they're going to
spectacular
attempt that
view
landing. They're going to be
down from our
purging
GS2
fuel to make
continue
sure
to
that
look
the
good.
engines are ready to
Seeing
go.
9.5 minute burn for GS2. 4 minutes, 25 seconds into flight.
All right. So again, this is their first time attempting this type of thing. For real.
All right, at 9 minutes is when we're expecting the first stage to touch down
9
on
minutes.
Jacqueline.
Where are we? Where's your clock? Come on, folks.
Approximately 2 minutes remaining in the GS1 coast.
You should have the terminal count. You should have the launch
Thank you
clock
again, everybody,
on the
for
screen.
joining us for NG2 so far.
That's my
a
feedback for
nominal
Origin.
mission.
GS2 is
Our
now
second
320
mission of
kilometers
NG2.
downrange.
It could be right
Traveling
underneath
at
the
2.8
mission
kilometers per
engine
second.
2 in the top
Trajectory
We
right
had
there.
a
continues to look
clean
good on
ascent
both
burn,
stages.
clean separation, clean fairing
Right down the middle of the range
jettison.
track. Engine operating parameters on GS2 look good.
Sounds like our GS2
So those little flashes there, that's the reaction control thrusters, keeping the orientation of the booster.
Now
right
entering the
now.
descent phase.
And we've got GS1
The
coming
E3Us
down
continue
for
to look
landing
good. GS2 body
at
rate
T
phenomenal.
plus 9 minutes.
Guys, you got to put the launch clock on the screen. All right, so that was it going the speed of sound? So that broke the sound
One area
barrier
remaining
there.
in the GS1 coast.
It's finally hitting all the atmosphere.
Continue to see good data coming down from both GS1 and GS2.
Yeah.
Body rates on both stages look good. BE3.
It is really crazy. You've got this skyscraper of a thing coming back through, and you're up in orbit, basically the edge of space, where there's almost no particles. You're trying to slow yourself down, and then as you're coming in, you're falling faster and faster and faster, and then there's more and more particles, and then all of a sudden you smack right through, hit the speed of sound. Crazy.
100 kilometers up there, coming in for a landing on the Jacqueline, 375 miles offshore, waiting for the first time to land Blue Origin's new Glenn booster on the Jacqueline.
Yo, let's go, Blue Origin. I like what I'm seeing. A lot of control with the booster. We don't have a lot of data. We don't have altimetry. We don't have speeds.
See body rates on GS1.
That
But,
looks
okay,
great.
so
We
that's
have our
3
booster
engines
reentry
lit.
burn. Oh, all 3 engines.
Let's go. Great
No
track
matter what
shot,
happens next, we have had
You
a
guys are
good
doing
day.
great.
This is further than we made it on NG1.
That's right.
See indication of engine ignition on GS1. Continue to see good data from GS1.
I will say I like the horizontal
About a minute and a half.
3-engine
look good.
ignition there. That's a cool look on the booster. You got 7, Starship is 33, which is crazy.
Horizontal position. We've got the strakes on the base of the booster, which give it lift. So we can basically fly this booster. Of course, we're using the forward fins as well, plus some of our reaction control system to, as well as the gimbling on the BE4 engines to turn the rocket accordingly. On here, it starts to tilt down.
Now halfway
1 minute to go.
Here we
GS1
go.
Less than 40,000
continue to look
feet.
good.
Let's go.
GS2 throttle down complete.
Oh my
Response
god,
look
if
good.
I nail this. That's gonna be insane.
8 minutes, 20 seconds from flight.
Come on, Blue Origin.
And record landing burn ignition.
Give it a good,
And we have
give it a
landing burn
good
ignition.
go.
See 3 good engines.
We've got our booster landing burn.
Engine control looks good.
Come on.
Of course, those codes are there.
8 minutes, 43 seconds from flight. Legs deployed.
Where's that shot? Where's that shot?
Now down.
Great shot from our booster.
Standing by.
There it is. There's the pad.
Standing back to touchdown. Touchdown confirmed. GS2 continuing to work. Sound system looks good. Level up for time.
Oh my god.
GS2 continuing to operate well. Just continuing to expand burn. Looks good. And good right down the middle of the racetrack. 10 minutes, 15 seconds.
This is incredible. Guys, when I started this podcast, I was having conversations with people who were teaching you about this. And they were saying it wasn't possible. And now 10 years later, we have multiple companies, multiple private US companies that launch and land reusable spacecraft and rockets. Reusability was literally thought of as an impossibility. That throwing away the thing that sent you to space was just the way we did things. And here we've got Blue Origin on their second attempt. Granted, 10 years of data on launching and landing a smaller rocket, but that helped them do it here. That helped them land a heavy booster. Guys, this is insane. And it's huge for Blue Origin. This means that their launch costs can stay low. It means that they're now able to relaunch this rocket potentially, right? Assuming that the refurbishment that needs to happen isn't too great. But look at that tech. I love the hidden legs within the shield there at the bottom of that rocket. I think that's awesome. I love seeing a different approach to this other than just how SpaceX is doing it, right? We don't have a space industry if it's just one company. And SpaceX has done amazing stuff. They're continuing to do amazing stuff. But one of the biggest things that SpaceX did to the space industry was they showed that reusability was possible. And not only that it could be done. Even though the smartest, most brilliant people, wow, look at that. Oh, that's such great control. That came in. So, looking at that, New Glenn has control of itself. It's able to shed all of that speed and heat and energy of what it has to do to get into space and then come back. But also it had pinpoint accuracy, and it didn't even look like it struggled to land. That is a mastering of physics that you need to have reusability, and now it's not theory anymore. It's reality. Blue Origin is a reusable rocket company, and they have a bright, bright future ahead of them. The booster has to make it home, obviously. Sometimes stuff happens at sea, but it looks like they've got a plan. But this is huge. Next, they obviously need to get the payloads to Mars, right? Like, great, you landed a rocket. If you don't get the mission to Mars, that's something else. But, I mean, now's the time to celebrate. Listen to that.
That's right.
That's hard-working people that have spent their lives doing this, man. Second attempt landing this? What?
GS2 systems.
Way to go, Team Blue.
Not only is the vehicles in its
We love you too, Huntsville.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Great song.
That just shows you the passion and the dedication of every single person that works here at Blue Origin.
Well,
and Eddie, you're with our friends here at Rocket Park.
David Limp has earned his paycheck. Well done.
GS2 is now 3,020 kilometers downrange, traveling 7.9
Guys,
kilometers per
what a
second.
day, what a momentous occasion, an incredible opportunity to witness live.
Eddie, I'm going to be honest with you. It's so loud around you. They're chanting so loud, and rightfully so. I'm having a hard time hearing you. But you got to tell me, what is this moment like for you, Eddie? You've been here a long time. You've seen the New Shepard booster land for the first time, and now you're watching New Glenn.
10 minutes remaining in the coast.
Yeah, this one was way better. Just incredible to watch. We're just here, launch, land, repeat. It starts today.
Launch, land, repeat. I love it, Eddie. And I believe we also have some video, of course, of the celebrations happening all throughout Rocket Park, in every corner of what is going on in this building. Here's a moment. And of course, that's mission control, launch control.
There's just
Where
some
is
of the
it?
faces,
you know, you're
man.
gonna see when they do it. Ah!
Jeff Bezos,
That's insane.
Jordan
I
Charles,
didn't
the
see
head of
Bezos
our
in
New
there.
Glenn program, Dave Limp.
Crazy.
Celebrations all
Congrats,
around.
Blue Origin.
And there you have it. Let's show it to you one more time.
15 minutes
Our
into
New
flight.
Glenn booster
Continuing to
out
see
on
good
the
data coming down
Jacqueline.
from GS2
Oh,
body
I
rates.
can't wait till she comes
Stable
home.
I have never
First
seen
coast.
anything more beautiful.
Can see good
Not
mag
since the
pressure
first
control.
landing of
Bottom
New
pressures look
Shepard.
good.
So far, it looks like the main mission is still good to go, but we cannot stress how impressive it is that Blue Origin pulled that off. They may have taken the long way of doing it. They may have progressed at a turtle's pace, but as I was trolled in the early years of Today in Space by Blue Origin lovers, it was always the comparison of the tortoise and the hare. SpaceX being the hare, developing quickly, failing, and getting things out there first. Blue Origin has, at molasses pace, been growing. And in the last few years, they've really ramped up their just progress and their development. And you know, you can't ever know if you're doing it right until you launch, right? And so getting this second launch was a Herculean effort. You know, David Limp, the new CEO of Blue Origin, was brought in to make sure that everything was aligned as they ramped up to move up. You know, someone who wasn't an aerospace exec going in there was some doubt. I don't think that way, but from an industry perspective, there was some doubt, like, how is this guy going to do it when someone who was in charge before, who's from the traditional aerospace background, couldn't get it done. And kudos to David Limp and the team that has stuck around, the smart people that have joined Blue Origin over the last few years, and all the people working on the next stage of what's going to happen, whether it's orbital space stations, whether it's moon lander. There's so many things that they've been working on in tandem to build this up. The most important piece was the rocket to send everything up, and that was not going to be New Shepard, the Taurus rockets, the Kármán line. It was going to be New Glenn. And now that New Glenn, on its second mission, has launched 2 satellites to Mars, they still got to get to orbit, they still got to deploy, they still got to get on their way to Mars, but things looking good, communication is good, and the fact that they now have a rocket that's reusable, that is incredible. So it's a huge day. Huge day for Blue Origin.
ESCAPADE really encapsulates
Holy
the past,
crap.
the present, and the future.
Yes, especially working with Blue Origin. What ESCAPADE can do is tell us about what happened at Mars
19
billions of
minutes into
years
flight.
ago. It used to be habitable with oceans and lakes of water, but then something happened to its atmosphere. All of that water evaporated and dried up, and now we have this desert that it is today. And that brings us to today, which is that if we understand Mars's atmosphere and what it's doing, we can help protect future assets, especially not just robots landing on the surface, knowing how they enter that atmosphere safely, but it's not an if, it's a when humans actually go to Mars, and that brings us to our future. And so ESCAPADE, working with a company like Blue Origin, is going to change how we get to Mars and how we protect our assets there, our robots and our crewed flight.
What is the most exciting part about being a part of this project for you?
I also have to say it's a huge congratulations to Rocket Lab too, because Rocket Lab is actually who helped build ESCAPADE for NASA. Rocket Lab being mostly a small rocket provider, like that's a huge thing. Is that Edward Spofford? Oh my goodness. Hello. Yes, Mars is cool, but let's land on the moon. It's happening. It's happening. Blue Origin's got their lander that is gonna launch soon, the first one, Mark 1. So they're doing both.
Then enables that. So you have this like perfect 3 points of this like pyramid to do incredible and great things at places like Mars.
How long?
But before I was distracted by Ed Spofford here, on YouTube. Just a big congratulations to Rocket Lab. They not only have their own rockets that they send small spacecraft into space, but they have focused on building satellites. And the fact that they helped in tandem with a few other companies build this for NASA is huge. So it's going to be a showcase of what they've been able to do, because they have done a really good job of building satellites. And this is going to be a huge test for that. So really cool stuff. Let's listen back in. But congratulations, Rocket Lab.
5 years of science to me sounds like heaven. So I think for some folks, waiting is hard, but for the science team, we are ecstatic. We will take every single bit of data that we can get. And again, with working with our partners, being able to get all of that data and enabling this incredible opportunity to explore not just Mars, but actually the entire trajectory there, that's science waiting to happen.
What is your message to all the collaborators who've had hands on ESCAPADE at this moment in time as they're kind of just waiting for it to deploy?
To all of our collaborators,
3 minutes
thank
remaining to
you
engine
from the
ignition.
bottom of my heart. We're so excited. We can't wait to work with you, and we're going to totally change how we do things at Mars. As we get ready for launch, my final thoughts are go ESCAPADE, go Blue, and we're so happy to be here.
And we're so grateful to have you on the team.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Of course, so great to be able to hear from Dr. Shannon Curry. The booster there, though, on the pad. It is a moment we are still kind of taking in and processing. Ariane, you and I
buzzing.
Yeah, more feedback for the Origin media team. So it would be really nice to see the clock for the mission, right? We are given out timelines, right, for when things are supposed to happen. It would be really good to know when in the mission we are, especially with the call-outs in the background. Also, I love that the booster's there, but the main mission is the launch. So it would be really good to actually see what's going on from the rocket's perspective. You've got cameras on there. I love seeing the crew. I love seeing the people working on the rocket. That's awesome. Trying to see if I see anyone I recognize. Oh, no. Let's go. So many people work on this stuff. I love it. I love it. Ed Spofford on YouTube says the rocket was very censored and the landing on the landing ship pad. Yes, tremendous accuracy with that landing, which to me just means they have a real solid understanding of the physics of their rocket. And on this very beautiful Florida day, they nailed it. The sea's calm. Couldn't be better conditions to show what you can do with a rocket. So it's huge for them. Landing on the second flight of any rocket is super impressive. Even SpaceX, the front runners of that, didn't do that. They didn't have as much data as Blue Origin had before they attempted it, but it also wasn't as big a rocket. So to take the jump from New Shepard to landing New Glenn, it's very, very impressive.
We had a couple hundred people. There were about a dozen or so of us off this back wooden porch with the radio, listening to launch control call the shots as we saw the New Shepard rocket come down a couple miles downrange with our naked eye.
Right.
And you lose New Shepard over the horizon, but you saw this billow of dust,
so
and we heard touchdown, and it was this same roar, this elation. But today, as Eddie said, it feels so similar, but it also feels so different in the sense that
pressures look good.
Getting this rocket to space and to be able to reuse this booster is opening a new chapter for Blue Origin. It's opening a new chapter for the space industry. It's opening a new chapter for space as whole, as a not just domestically but internationally, to have more rockets that can be reusable, to have competition on the market, to bring down the cost of accessing space so that our customers, whether it's NASA, whether it's our friends at Amazon Kuiper that have signed up, whether it's Viasat, we want to be able to share this with the world. And as our founder, Jeff Bezos, has said, you know, there's so many organizations that want to go up and access space and use those assets. And he, as an investor, he's seen so many companies that have come to him and said, well, that's nice, but all of these organizations die on the vine unless you can reduce the cost of accessing space. And by having another reusable orbital rocket to be able to do that is huge. I cannot wait to see what this rocket looks like when we bring her back into port in just a couple of days, bring her back to our integration facility and get a look at this beautiful rocket. What a day.
And as we take a look at GS2, right now we are approaching SECO 2, which is second engine cutoff.
And we have SECO. Good
SECO is confirmed. Nice. So we have a map for you on your screen, but soon we should be back and able to communicate with our ground stations, and we would have a picture for you. Right now, we are under 10 minutes until we're able to deploy ESCAPADE.
That
and
is
if we do that,
a pretty serious capability for any of these. You know, Blue Origin has not been launching orbitally; they've been suborbital for the last 10 years. So, yeah, they've got ground stations that they've got to get this going. So what's the trajectory, says Ed Spofford. Aren't we far from Mars now? It's the window next year. Yes, very good point, Spofford. Very, very good point. So they mentioned this earlier in the broadcast. So they're actually launching before that window. So it's the most efficient way to get to Mars by hitting that window. So what it sounds like is that they designed the mission to launch a little bit early, to spend a little bit more time getting to Mars. So it's actually going to take them until 2027 to get to Mars. So they are going to be moving a little bit more slowly, but they're going to be gathering data along the way. ESCAPADE is going to be getting atmospheric and heliophysics data, so sun weather data, around Mars. So I would assume along the way, those science teams are going to be testing out the sensors. There's been a lot of solar activity, so I'm sure they could still get data on their way to Mars, but it will take them longer than the 9 months to get there. Clearly, it's going to take them 2 years, or just under 2 years, in order to do that, launching now. So since they don't mind taking it a little slower, it's okay. But that's how it answers your question. So probably similar to a home and transfer, but just not at the ideal window. Oh.
The more than 10,000 employees, we get to peek into Huntsville and to Kent and into Van Horn, but everywhere across this country, I think people are celebrating knowing that we've really made this big step that you've mentioned toward making space more accessible. And I know there's future generations watching right now. I know there's people from all around the world, as far as Brazil, watching right now. And those individuals have to know that we are setting up the future. That's the only way I know how to put it. We are setting up the future. Today was a monumental step for that.
Well, you see, future generations. I actually got a photo from my husband who has my babies propped up and watching this. And I'll tell you, my 3-year-old, she just thinks that our rocket launches and lands.
Oh, yeah, that's all she's ever known.
That's all she has ever known. So to be able to show her this live,
now passing 30 minutes
I'm
into flight.
super proud of being part of this team. I always have, and today is an extraordinary highlight. Eddie, you've been here along with me for 11 years. How do you feel?
Well, no, congratulations. I mean, as you were talking about earlier, how we were sitting in the back porch of Mission Control in West Texas 10 years ago, almost to the day. And how far you've come. You know, your girls are looking at you. That's your rocket that landed today. That's all our rockets, but a special congratulations
to you. That's our rocket, that's right.
No, there's so many reflections that, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you're right. You know, it's our rocket. It's such something that just brings our team together. I know we can't turn the camera around. I can't imagine why. But how are those celebrations still looking? How many people would you imagine are up there with you?
Well, we were
Inside joke,
500
apparently.
plus strong,
Passing
more or
31
less,
minutes
throughout
on
the whole party. And the
separation
energy
attitude,
never
body rate
abated. Through the
filled out
first
nicely.
go-no-go
Seeing
poll for
good,
terminal count, up to the first
control
20-second
on all
countdown,
PS2
and in the recycle,
right
the spirits
now-
were high.
Eddie, the spirits are high, and they're going to continue. I can't wait to talk
2
to you
minutes remaining
after this
spacecraft
webcast, give you a high
separation.
five, but you're looking at a live look. This is...
Yep, that is the ESCAPADE payload deployment. So in the middle, you have the main structure of the deployment of that stage. On the sides are the pair of ESCAPADE spacecrafts. So I would assume that what's going to happen is when we get to payload separation one of those satellites is going to deploy, and then they'll move to the second deploy of that satellite. So I'm going to get a view of it in just a second here, but thank you so much for everyone hanging out here over on X, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Thank you for being here. Huge, huge day for Blue Origin. Another reusable rocket, orbital rocket provider, making access to space less expensive, more accessible now that there's going to be multiple pads and multiple rockets launching. This is a huge step forward for the American space program, an amazing capability that is really important to have at this point in our space travel. And New Glenn has the ability to launch a lander to the moon, which makes us have more robustness in the US's ability to continue the Artemis program or any mission going to Mars or the moon, or that can send up and build orbital space stations. Another rocket now has that capability, and that's huge. And thanks to all of the people who have worked tirelessly to develop this rocket and keep it moving over the last decade. But let's listen in for payload separation one. Thank you for being here.
That's up. And we have good indication of ESCAPADE Blue
We
spacecraft
do have
separation.
payload separation
ESCAPADE
confirmed.
separated.
Go Blue.
Now we've got the second
payload coming
on
up,
the
as we
right.
mentioned. Just about a couple of seconds more here.
That's what the whole mission was about.
Standing by for spacecraft 2 set.
Oh, beautiful live shot from over 700
ESCAPADE
miles
Gold
in
separation
space.
confirmed.
And Gold has separated. Congratulations, ESCAPADE. Both Blue and Gold have successfully deployed. We have successfully landed the booster, and we have successfully deployed both the Blue
this is huge.
and Gold satellites for ESCAPADE.
2 for 2. There goes our robotic vehicle
Let's
that
go,
is
Team
securing
Blue.
the
All of your
GS1
hard work
onto the Jacqueline.
That's right.
Has paid off. This is a huge demonstration
Absolutely
today.
spectacular.
Like, couldn't have gone more perfectly. Oh, there's the robotic. Oh, sick. We don't get to see this with
And so there you
other
go.
launches.
Our
Okay.
automated robotic vehicle.
So that's
to
gonna
be
hook
very
up
clear, we didn't
to the
clarify
rocket
this
at
earlier.
a
There
port
are
on the
no
bottom.
people on
Just like R2D2. And that is going to make sure that it purges nitrogen. So get that noble gas in there so that way it's inert, right? So that way you're not going to be catching fire. You're going to take out the not so healthy fuel that's in there for human beings. And they just, before they bring it to port, that's actually to help purge the lines of the fuel. So right now, like, it's not safe enough for humans to get close. So this is going to lock in and actually help facilitate purging nitrogen into those lines. So that will make it so that it's safe and inert for people, human beings, to lock it down. They've got, they're not going to weld it down, but they do have locking mechanisms that's going to hold it down, so they can bring it into port. It's going to take them like multiple days to do so, to bring it back from where it is. But yeah, that little device is there to make sure the rocket is safe for humans to get on there. So that's pretty cool.
I'm speechless, and I really am. It has been such an epic day. In about, goodness, couple of minutes here, also that Viasat demonstrator will turn on. That's an exciting thing. That's a payload kind of hitching a ride.
Oh, that's right. The Viasat payload.
It's just been so great to work with so many customers and to also show the world that, hey, we're here. We're in the game. We have a reusable booster, and this is just the beginning.
No, and we said it on the last webcast. We've got NASA ESCAPADE, but of course there are other organizations, UC Berkeley, Advanced Space,
Rocket Labs
that have been part of that mission. But we've also got Viasat being one of the foremost satellite operators in the world. And these organizations took a chance on us. They did. We get it. It was a new rocket. It had not flown when we signed with them. This means a lot to us that you have put your technology, your babies in our hands on top of this rocket. You trusted our team. You trusted our method. We got you there. And we cannot wait to take our other signed customers as well as our other future to-be signed customers. We are open for business, baby.
Well, that's a perfect way to close it out, folks. Blue Origin crushed it today. Literally could not have gone any better. And as they're saying in the background here, it's a new era for Blue Origin, and it definitely is. I mean, all of the things that Blue Origin has been building slowly behind the scenes, so many things they've been building, they finally have a rocket capable of launching that stuff into space. And it's reusable, and it's demonstrated that on its first true mission. So this is huge for the American space program, because it's great for us to have competition in space, but more than just competing with one another, there are so many people that need to go into space that we can't just have one rocket provider, and not just one rocket, right? The Falcon 9 can't launch every single mission. And that shouldn't be what our American space program is, just one company capable of doing so. Reusability is a method, right? It's not a monopoly. And so Blue Origin doing this with their heavy lift rocket New Glenn is huge, and really, really looking forward to what comes next. Let's check the chat here. Ed Spofford says, what are the chances they will do a Blue Origin and 007 collab? Moonraker 2. Dude, it's not far off. And it's not Blue Origin's first foray into using their space technology for, we'll call it television. I don't know if you guys saw, there's that show 911 that used a Blue Origin New Shepard spacecraft, which is cringeworthy, not because Blue Origin is involved, but because of just the creative license they took with using New Shepard, which doesn't go into orbit, to use New Shepard to go to the space station. And then, I don't know, if you've watched that commercial, I roll my eyes and walk out of the room every time. It's real cringeworthy space stuff, but kudos to them for actually using a real piece of space technology. And look, I don't think Blue Origin has control over how they write or view that episode, so I can't give them too much heartache. But to Ed Spofford's question, a 007 collab with Moonraker 2 would be insane. And what's really cool is companies like Blue Origin have other companies called Orbital Reef. There's also a company called VAST, that's SpaceX, that just helped launch a test orbital station, right? They tested their solar panels and the things that they needed to test these new space stations. So private space stations are going to become a thing very quickly, especially now that New Glenn is capable, right? That means more of these companies have more attempts at sending their orbital stations, their space stations into space, right? You can dock multiple pods, build that up. Guaranteed there are some rich influencers that are going to pay to film a movie. I think, I know Tom Cruise has been trying to work on filming a mission into space. He hasn't done so yet, from what I understand. But yeah, filming that up is gonna happen very soon. We're gonna start seeing movies filmed in space, TV shows, YouTubers in space, whatever that will bring. But that's coming. Got to put it in front of the public on prime time, even if it's dumb, says Ed Spofford. Yeah, look, like I said, it's way better than, well, I didn't say this, but putting a real rocket and spacecraft that may or may not actually get to the place in orbit where they are is good. Because otherwise, they're either going to use the space shuttle, which has been retired for a decade, or they're going to make up something that then doesn't make any sense. And I've seen both. I've seen a weird shuttle, and a weird space shuttle, and I've also seen just like rocket and spacecrafts that like don't make any sense. So I agree, Spofford, you're right. That even though it's going to be used in a dumb way, it's still good to get the real thing out there. So yeah, it's all good stuff. Yeah, it's a huge day. Thank you everybody for hanging out for this launch hangout. This has been a blast. I am going to start prepping dinner here, but Spofford, Deborah, thank you so much for joining me in the chat. It was a blast hanging out with you guys for this launch. NASA has 2 spacecraft heading to Mars. Congratulations to UC Berkeley and Rocket Lab for building those satellites. It's good. So it is you, EJ. God damn, I thought it was. I wasn't sure. But I was like, if there's an Ed Spofford that's in the chat, it's got to be EJ. It's good to talk with you, man. Yeah, it has been too long. Let's catch up. I've got some time. Would love to chat, bro. But fuck, it was great. All right, everybody. Have a great day.